Watch out. Have you ever felt like you were lied to by an Excel spreadsheet? In the 2026 motorcycle market, manufacturers have become absolute masters at creating paper kings, bikes that win every technical comparison before they even leave the factory. Horsepower figures, endless lists of electronic aids, and aggressive pricing make these machines look like the most rational purchase in the world. But what the spec sheet doesn't tell you is how your body will feel after 2 hours on the highway, or how your wallet will bleed from maintenance costs that the marketing department conveniently omitted. The problem is that comfort, daily usability, and long-term owner satisfaction don't show up in torque curves. We are living in an era where bikes are engineered to shine in quick-hit media reviews, but fail miserably during the actual ownership experience. The gap between what you read in a brand's PDF and what you feel when you hit the ignition after 6 months of daily commuting has never been wider. If you're looking for a truly smart buy, you need to learn how to read between the lines of modern engineering. In this video, I'm going to expose 6 motorcycles that look like brilliant choices on paper, but struggle to deliver that confidence in real life. We're analyzing everything from sport tourers that sacrifice your comfort to premium models that charge Ferrari prices for a budget car experience. If you don't want to regret your next big purchase, this is the definitive guide to separating the hype from the reality. Let's go. 6th place. Suzuki GSX S1000 GT. The Suzuki GSX S1000 GT is positioned as the definitive sport touring for those who don't want to give up superbike performance. On paper, it's a dream. Legendary K5 engine, bulletproof Japanese reliability, and a price that makes European rivals seem absurd. The promise is clear: to take you and your luggage extremely fast, with modern electronics and a futuristic look that dominates the roads of 2026. However, the disappointment arises in the ergonomics and suspension refinement. Although the engine is a masterpiece of power, the riding position is a confusing hybrid that ends up leaning too much towards the sports side. On long trips, the knee angle and aerodynamic protection leave something to be desired, transforming what should be a relaxed ride into a tiring endurance session. The suspension, although competent on perfect asphalt, lacks the sophistication needed to deal with the imperfections of real roads, transmitting impacts that a GT should filter. For the owner in 2026, the feeling is that Suzuki took an aggressive naked bike and put a fairing on it without really rethinking the DNA for touring. The TFT panel is beautiful, but connectivity is still unstable compared to BMW or KTM systems. Ultimately, you buy a motorcycle with elite specifications, but you end up missing the luxury refinement that defines a true grand touring. It wins in speed, but loses in rider well-being. 5th place. Kawasaki Versys 650. The Kawasaki Versys 650 is often cited as the most logical choice in the mid-range market. It sells itself as the Swiss Army knife of 2 wheels, suitable for daily commuting, handles weekend trips, and has mechanical reliability that spans generations. On paper, its fuel consumption figures and upright ergonomics make it the perfect purchase for those who prioritize rationality above all else, supported by Kawasaki's vast assistance network. In real life, however, the riding experience is disconnected and uninspiring. The parallel twin-cylinder engine is extremely efficient but lacks any personality or emotional sound, behaving more like an industrial tool than a leisure motorcycle. The bike's weight, combined with a high center of gravity, makes low-speed maneuvers heavier than they should be, and the steering feedback is vague, not instilling confidence for more enthusiastic riding. The feedback from owners in 2026 is constant. The bike does everything it promises, but it doesn't make you want to wake up early on Sunday just to ride. Compared to more modern rivals such as the Yamaha Tracer 7 or the new Triumph 660s, the Versys seems dated and excessively functional. It's a smart bike for those who see the vehicle merely as transportation, but for those seeking the passion of motorcycling, it ends up becoming a forgettable machine in the garage. Fourth place, BMW F750GS. The BMW F750GS presents itself as the gateway to the premium adventure world. The specifications promise the prestige of the GS brand, cutting-edge electronics, and a smooth engine for asphalt touring. It attracts those who desire the status of a BMW, but without the size or prohibitive cost of the 1300 GS. On paper, it seems like a sensible compromise between luxury, accessible seat height, and modern technology. The disappointment appears when the expectation of exclusivity meets cost containment. The engine, although efficient, has an overly domesticated power delivery, losing the vigor that defines the category. Besides, the off-road capability is merely decorative due to the alloy wheels and limited suspension travel. For the 2026 market, where the average competition, like the Tenere 700, delivers much more robustness, the F750GS seems like a street bike disguised as an adventurer, charging a premium price for components that often seem basic. The maintenance cost and BMW's optional packages also weigh on long-term satisfaction. What seemed like a smart purchase in the showroom becomes a financial burden in revisions without delivering the level of fun that justifies the expense. It's a logical bike for those who prioritize the logo on the tank, but technically it's too cautious and not exciting enough.
Third place, Yamaha Tracer 9. The standard Yamaha Tracer 9 is a phenomenon on spreadsheets. With the acclaimed CP3 three-cylinder engine and an electronic package that challenges bikes costing twice as much, it seems like the best deal of 2026. The promise is an explosive technological machine capable of devouring miles with ease. On paper, there's nothing that delivers more horsepower and technology for every dollar invested. The real-world disappointment lies almost entirely in the suspension tuning and high-speed stability. While the engine is a perfect 10, the standard version's suspension is often criticized for being too soft for sporty riding and not sophisticated enough to absorb impacts on trips with a passenger and luggage. Many owners report a floating sensation from the front at highway speeds, which requires an immediate extra investment in suspension kits for the bike to truly deliver what the engine promises. The result is a bike that seems incomplete. On paper, you bought the perfect sport touring. In practice, you bought an incredible engine that is trapped in a chassis that doesn't keep up with its breath. In 2026, those who don't opt for the GT version, with electronic suspension, end up spending what they saved to try to correct factory defects, making the original smart choice a little less brilliant. Second place, Honda NC750X. The Honda NC750X is often called the smartest motorcycle ever designed. With its helmet compartment in place of the fuel tank, fuel consumption worthy of a 250cc, and the optional DCT transmission, it's the definition of pragmatism. On paper, it solves all the problems of the urban motorcyclist and the economical traveler. It's the triumph of reason over emotion, and 2026 sales figures confirm that many believe in this logic. However, the disappointment arises from the complete lack of emotional engagement. The engine, derived from a car engine, Honda Fit, has a very low rev limit and a sound that inspires no one. The acceleration is linear to the point of being monotonous, and the riding dynamics are extremely neutral. For many owners, after the initial fascination with the practicality of the storage compartment, what remains is a motorcycle that seems more like an appliance than an adventure partner. In 2026, the NC750X is the bike you buy with your head, but that rarely makes your heart beat faster. It's brilliant as a transportation tool, but in real life, many motorcyclists end up missing the soul that defines two wheels. It's proof that being extremely sensible on paper can result in an emotionally flat experience on the road. First place, Ducati Multistrada V2. Taking first place, the Ducati Multistrada V2 promises Italian performance DNA in a lighter and more manageable package. On paper, it's the perfect combination: the charisma of the Multistrada engine, stunning Ducati design, and cutting-edge electronics for long trips. It's sold as the smart alternative for those who don't need the brutal power and price of the V4, but won't give up European exclusivity. The real disappointment arises in the complexity of ownership and thermal comfort. The heat generated by the engine in urban traffic or hot days of 2026 is exhausting, something the sales catalog doesn't mention. Furthermore, Desmo maintenance continues to be a very high operating cost that weighs much more on a mid-range motorcycle than on a top-of-the-line one. What seemed to be a more accessible multi ends up charging a maintenance price that scares even the most prepared owners. In real life, the Multistrada V2 demands a lot from its owner and delivers limited daily usability due to its temperamental nature. Compared to Japanese rivals that offer 90% of the performance with 50% of the maintenance cost and much more thermal comfort, the smart choice for the Italian brand often proves to be a love-hate relationship difficult to sustain in the long run.
We've reached the end of our journey, and the lesson learned is deeper than any spec sheet can reveal. We've seen that in 2026, the motorcycle market is a minefield of brilliant promises on paper that in real life can turn into bitter disappointments. The Suzuki GSX S1000 GT, with its legendary engine, promised the definitive sport touring, but stumbled on ergonomics and suspension, turning long trips into endurance tests. The Kawasaki Versys 650, the Swiss Army knife of two wheels, proved efficient but lacked soul, leaving many riders feeling they were riding a tool, not a passion. The BMW F750GS, the gateway to adventure luxury, disappointed with a domesticated power delivery and off-road capability that was more aesthetic than functional, charging a premium price for an experience that often didn't justify the investment. The Yamaha Tracer 9, with its acclaimed CP3 engine, was a steal on paper, but required a heavy extra investment in suspension to truly shine, revealing an incomplete bike in its standard version. The Honda NC750X, the smartest designed motorcycle, proved that reason is not always synonymous with emotion, leaving its owners with a brilliant transportation tool, but without the soul we so often seek on two wheels. And finally, the Ducati Multistrada V2, with all its Italian charisma, proved to be a love-hate relationship, with thermal comfort issues and maintenance costs that scare even the most passionate. What all these motorcycles teach us is that true intelligence in buying a motorcycle is not about memorizing horsepower figures or lists of electronics. It's about understanding that the riding experience is a complex set of sensations, ergonomics, maintenance costs, and above all, the emotional connection you establish with your machine. Marketing can paint a perfect picture, but it's the road, the traffic, and your garage that tell the complete story. In 2026, more than ever, we need to learn to read between the lines, to question the hype, and to seek the motorcycle that truly aligns with our lifestyle and the passion that drives us. So before making your next decision, reflect. Are you buying an Excel spreadsheet or the thrill of every corner, the freedom of every journey, and the joy of every start? The smartest bike isn't the one with the best data in the PDF, but the one that still makes you smile when the novelty wears off. Don't buy numbers, buy the feeling. And if you've had a similar experience with a bike that seemed perfect on paper but disappointed in real life, share it in the comments. We want to hear your story. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more analyses like this. See you next time!